Hello and welcome to a very unique event. We're drinking bourbon on the internet in a virtual bourbon tasting for the Railbird Music Festival. This is revolutionary stuff here we're doing. I'm Drew Franklin from Kentucky Sports Radio, and I'm honored to be the host of today's event. I am joined by a special panel of bourbon enthusiasts as we take on this tough assignment of drinking bourbon samples and determining which is the best. Tough stuff we're working on, but I think we can pull it off. Today we have Old Forester, a lot of it, and a lot of special guests that are going to help us choose. I'm going to start off by introducing our tasters, and I'll begin with the man behind Railbird. It's producer David Helmers. David, you kind of thought up this virtual tasting. How did we get here?
Yeah, well, it's time for us to pick bourbons for Railbird. So in August, we're going to have these single barrel selects, and our timing is such that we need to pick the barrels. So Old Forester has been great. They've sent us samples from some select bottles, and that's what we're going to do. We got to meet some deadlines, so we're going to taste some bourbon virtually, all separate together, and then we'll pick the best one, and that'll be ready to go in August.
All right, and we also have joining us from the very popular Kentucky for Kentucky, Toni Canyon Young. I know you all like to have a lot of fun, but what's your bourbon background? Are you ready to drink some bourbon with us?
I would love to drink some bourbon with you guys. I worked on the Bourbon Trail for a few years. That's how I met my husband, actually. So we started as tour guides. I worked my way up the chain a little bit, so I know just enough to be a little dangerous. And then I made my way over to Kentucky for Kentucky.
All right. Glad to have you here. And now for the guy who took my crown as ugliest beard on this Zoom call, Justin Thompson from Justin's House of Bourbon, a really awesome place in downtown Lexington. And are you in Louisville yet? Going to Louisville, moving, branching out? Where are we?
Hey, Drew. Yeah, man, we have our second store open in Louisville, right downtown there, and not too far from Old Forester Distillery, actually. So, but yeah, man, these barrel picks are fun. I get to be involved in about 75 to 100 of them a year. So, and I never get tired of them. This is kind of one of the better bourbon experiences folks can be a part of. So it's gonna be real fun sharing this with all the Railbird fans out there.
Yeah, and I don't think there's many people that know more about bourbon than you. I see quite a bit behind you there. But now for the man of the hour from Old Forester, who brought the stuff we'll be sampling today, Tyler Mirt. Tyler, why don't you tell us a little bit about Old Forester, its history, and how it's doing right now in these weird times?
Yeah, certainly. Of course, appreciate you guys having me. I miss you all. We did this selection last year in person, but I will say I'm kind of excited for this one. We have found in these crazy times some kind of creative ways to use this digital platform, interacting with online guests. It brings in some more questions. You guys have come up with a great idea of doing the video broadcast. So I'm excited for this one. As to Old Forester, I've been with the distillery since about a month after opening. I come from a wine background. I've been a sommelier for the past 12 years and was fortunate enough to be on the barrel selection teams for the Oklahoma market before I moved here 3 years ago. So, got to do barrel selections at all the distilleries and bring those back to our Oklahoma market. And as it turned out, family ended up being close, so moved out here 3 years ago and was fortunate enough to get on with Old Forester. And from there, very fortunate to kind of be working under Jackie and taking over the barrel program, single barrel program here.
Well, last year when you all did this, it was done in person. Obviously, we can't do that now, but one good thing is we have people watching at home. So if you're one of the people watching at home, feel free to comment, leave a question. We'll try to get to it as things go on. I guess you want to go ahead and jump in and start figuring out where we're going. Pick a good Railbird bourbon from Old Forester.
Yeah, certainly. What we always do is start with the classic, the flagship, Old Forester 86. And what I will do, I know most of the people on this panel are old hat at this, but especially for those at home, I'll kind of walk you through my tasting process, give you the tips and tricks that I use to pull out some flavors and aromas and come to an ultimate conclusion. So we'll do kind of an in-depth tasting before we jump into these high proof selections, which by the way, we are picking our new barrel strength, Old Forester here. Just launched in May. Proud to say Railbird's one of the first accounts in America to pick one of the new Old Forester single barrel expressions. So we have moved to 100 strength or barrel proof. And we'll
so Tyler, when we talk about barrel proof, the barrel we select today at barrel proof will be bottled at that proof for August, right?
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
So instead of the 86 proof, which we're going to taste first, we're talking about north of 120 proof. Probably.
Yes, sir. Yeah, where usually our single barrels will come in somewhere between 127 and 135.
Okay.
So we should be right in there. And I've got all that information. Typically, I keep that to myself until afterwards, so I'm not swaying anyone one direction or the other. But yeah, we'll get into all that here shortly. Real quick, I just want to say if you haven't gotten the chance to make it out here to Louisville, come to the Old Forester Distillery downtown here. It is an amazing facility. We walk you through the whole process. And as you can see behind me, it's a brand with a storied history. I really enjoyed being a part of this. Old Forester as a brand probably has one of the best stories in all of bourbon, but up until 2 years ago, we never really had a place to share the story. So, it's a 150-year-old brand. That's the other thing that kind of a little disappointment. We were getting ready to celebrate our 150th anniversary in 2020. Brand was kicked off in 1870 by George Garvin Brown. But, we'll figure out a way around it. That's a big landmark. But 151 is 1 year better than 150, I guess. So maybe we will find a way to celebrate as needed next year.
Tyler, I've got a question. I've been down to the facility in Whiskey Row a couple times. I've been lucky to do that tour and do some tastings down there. And it's amazing. You kind of see from the field to the barrel, the whole process of how Old Forester makes bourbon. And when I was down there a year or two ago, you guys have your own rickhouse there as well as you make the barrels there. But those barrels in the rickhouse, have you guys started tapping into those barrels yet, or is that a ways off?
We have tapped into them. Jackie, we went through it about 11 months and then at about the 2-year mark, just to see how they're progressing.
Gotcha.
Can tell you we're very excited about it. It's a very high quality product, but that whole warehouse environment is totally new to bourbon almost. It's a tourist destination. It's climate controlled. It's got to stay at room temp, 65, 75 degrees all year round. Bourbon has not really been aged to our knowledge in an environment like that. So we think it'll take a little longer, maybe instead of the 4-year mark, you might be at 5, 6, 7 years, but we're definitely excited about it. As to what we're going to do with it, though, we have no idea. This is one big experiment. Cool. Looking forward to it, though. So, without further ado, if you guys would like to follow along, the one thing I typically ask, you guys have done this with me before, but for those following at home especially, pour yourself a little 86 or whatever lower proof bourbon you have at home. 80, 85, 90, anything in that wheelhouse will work. So we're going to pour ourselves a little lower proof bourbon. I am going to walk you through my process. If you would follow my lead, don't get ahead of me. Otherwise, my cute little magic tricks don't work as well. And it's been kind of fun to see how this works over the internet. So we've all got a pour. The first thing I do is I'm going to give the glass just a slow roll, about half the speed you would wine, because there's a lot more ethanol alcohol in here and you don't want it all to evaporate into the bowl. So a slow roll, and then we're going to keep our mouth open. You want to promote circulation of air, breathe in through your nose and mouth at the same time, especially when we jump into 130 or so proof. You don't want to inhale that high alcohol vapor. It'll make you cough and wheeze, and that's an uncomfortable experience. So we're going to keep that mouth open, kind of breathe in through our nose and mouth. And I do something a little funny. what I do is I start, if you are looking at the glass face to face, you have a top rim and a bottom rim. I start with the bottom rim right underneath the tip of my nose. I take a 1 second sniff and I pull the glass away. And the reason I do that is your nose kind of has this raging case of ADD. It gets bored very quickly. It's one of your most primal senses. If you've ever seen like a dog sniffing around, it goes from here to there, here to there. Unless you're smelling something that is food or a threat or is going to help you make babies, your nose is moving on to the next thing. That is all it cares about. So 1 to 2 seconds at a time, pull the glass away, give your nose a little break. It's going to help keep you fresher longer, and you're not going to get burnt out. Again, as we jump into the higher proof. So this is kind of odd because I do not have the samples that you guys have. That's one of the casualties of the situation, but that's not really my job anyways. My job is just to kind of lead you to a conclusion, not to tell you what you should be picking. So I'll kind of keep it simple. I like to keep it simple as to what I'm looking for when I do this. And we'll go back in just a minute. But at the bottom of the glass, I like to think of heavier, more viscous flavors and aromas. So think things like caramel, maple syrup, toffee, honey, and chocolate, something like that. And you'll also get like some grainy notes. You might get dried corn, grape nuts, which is your malted barley coming out, maybe a little grassy rice, something like that. So as we go back for another 1 or 2 seconds, think about those heavy, viscous flavors and aromas and see if you can pick anything out there. All right, so before we jump in, before we move on to this next phase here, this is where the fun happens. So keep those, we don't have to spout them all out yet, but keep those flavors and aromas in your head. And this time when we come back, instead, we are going to take the top rim of the glass and we're almost going to rest that on the bridge of our nose. So when you come back, you're going to move your nose underneath the top rim of the glass. You should get a lot more light, fruity, floral, sweet aromas, kind of a banana bubble gum thing going on with this 86. Did that work for everyone?
It does. I'm much better at recognizing it when you tell me. If you know, when I hear it and I'm like, oh yeah, that is banana, that is bubble gum. But telling you what it is on my own, I'm a little more challenged.
Right, and like I said, you know, I don't have the samples in front of you, but it is funny. Everybody thinks when we're doing this in person, it's kind of a Jedi mind trick. But when it works on camera, over the internet from hundreds of miles away, that's really like, you know, voodoo. Crazy. So
you know your
kind of
stuff
fun
there.
as we've been doing these virtual tastings to see if it works with people. So going back, like I said, sweeter, fruitier aromas. I like to keep those simple as well. If you can pick out 1 or 2 fruits in a bourbon, you're doing well. And you know, we've probably seen the bourbon tasting wheels. They have 10 different fruits or whatever. I don't like to get that in depth. Typically in any bourbon, I think you're going to find cherries, apples, kind of a peachy apricot note, banana, or citrus, which in bourbon's case is typically orange. Those, I keep it about that simple. So if you go back, like we said, kind of get that banana bubblegum aroma. But there's no reason to just delve in and, you know, try and stress yourself out going to baked pears and, you know, things like that. We're just trying to get a good idea of these. So we still haven't tasted yet, of course, but we've got a good initial impression of this bourbon. So one more sniff and then we're going to take a sip. When you take a sip, kind of roll it around in your mouth, get it underneath your tongue, between your cheek and gum, get it all around. And this is 86 proof. It's a pretty soft smooth, approachable bourbon, but when we jump into 100 proof, it's going to get a lot more intense. So after you take that first sip, what I'll typically do, wait a few seconds until that burn kind of goes away, and then take a quick breath in through your mouth, close your mouth, breathe out through your nose. And that's where the finish comes in. And that will become ever more important as we jump into barrel proof. And I'll kind of explain that along the way.
Yeah, like Tyler said, I think it's extremely important to kind of prime the palates. Pay attention to the proof and kind of work your way up in the proof. So, some people might look at 86 and think, you're not going to get that much. I love starting out with that proof range, especially on the nose. Those lower proof bourbons sometimes are a lot more aromatic. So, and you can dig into them a little deeper there. So, this is a great start to the tasting here.
I'm with David a little bit. I know it when you say it, but I can't say it myself. But you listing those fruits, I can go back in and look for them.
This 86 has kind of become just a go-to bourbon for me. We've been working with Old Forester now and Railbird since we started. And so getting exposed to Old Forester now, I really like this as just kind of a staple, bourbon to have on the shelf all the time. It's really good and solid.
No, thank you for saying so. I couldn't agree more, especially our core lineup, which are all under $25 on a liquor store shelf. They're hard to beat. They're well-rounded. They've got plenty of depth and flavor, and it doesn't break the bank. So,
yeah, those 86 and the 100 proof, the signature there. I mean, great workhorses. You take them to a party. If someone wants to enjoy something neat, it holds up there. But if someone wants to do a little blasphemy and add some Coke or L8 to it, well, it doesn't break your heart because of the price point. And you want people to always enjoy it the way they like enjoying it. So, that's the great thing about this bourbon is the price point's there, the flavor's there. It's got some complexity about it. It really is one of the better daily drinkers that folks can get every day there on the shelf.
That is a great point to make, Justin. Everyone, I think, gets intimidated, especially in a setting like this, single barrel selections, whatnot. But any of us who are truly passionate about bourbon and, sharing our stories with the customers, we want you to drink it how you like. Don't be afraid. I get that all the time. What do you drink at home? And I will tell you, I am not above bourbon and Coke or a PBR or a gin and tonic. And, there's a reason to that, because if I want something I don't have to think about, if I get home and just dive into single barrel, I'm back at work again, doing analysis. But no, absolutely. Drink it how you like it. Enjoy it. It's all good.
Yeah, Campbell Brown, your president, once said to me, we like people to drink bourbon the way they want to drink bourbon. And, if that's with a Coke or a Diet Coke, then so be it. There's some really nice bourbons that I wouldn't want to do that to, but yeah, I think it's whatever suits your palate.
Certainly. All right.
I heard some fun horror stories from Justin of some very expensive bourbons getting doused with Mountain Dew on some occasions. Not that we would ever judge people how they drink their bourbon, but he's told me some tales of good bourbon gone to waste that way.
There's a lot of Mountain Dew and LA1 for that matter consumed in this state. I saw somewhere where I think Kentucky maybe leads the country in Mountain Dew consumption. So with all the bourbon we have here and all the Mountain Dew that's getting consumed, they're going to meet somewhere probably.
Yeah.
I tried to convince Julian Van Winkle, the person who runs Pappy Van Winkle, one time to consider pushing the 23 and 23 cocktail, the 23 years of Pappy with the 23 flavors of Dr. Pepper, and he didn't like that idea. I don't know why, but anyway.
He is a ginger ale guy though, isn't he? He likes his Pappy 15 and ginger ale. From what I hear. So
Breaking news.
That and his rye Hattons there is making the Manhattans with his Pappy rye, which is a very expensive bottle there, of course.
You can do it.
This is really good.
So everybody, are we kind of acclimated? You want to take a few more sips? Any questions out there?
I'll admit, because we are where we are, I kind of got a head start, and I went ahead and jumped right to the 100 proof old foam 786. So anyway, going down delicious right now. So
That's a man taking this job very seriously. We appreciate that commitment. Hard work. You're doing.
that's how you take it to the next level of beer, Drew. Okay, I'm just,
All right.
just putting it out there.
Absolutely. Real quick, before we just jump in while we're acclimating, I thought I would give you guys a quick tour of where I am right now, because it's kind of a special place. We'll have to get you in here the next time you guys come down. But we just launched this. It is called Whiskey Row Retreat. So we are next door to the distillery here at Old Forester, and you come in the door, and this is, you can tell it's the same facade as we have next door at Old Forester. So this is an apartment where you come in for, meetings with Brown Foreman, or you coming in for a barrel pick. Maybe we can put you up here and get to hang out and drink some Old Forester.
Place looks awesome. All I did was find some random plant in a box and put it up behind me. You're going all out there.
Maybe what the coolest thing is, though, is the wall right across from us. That is the wall to Old Forester. So this is a pre-Civil War building built in 1857. And for those of you who don't know, we had a fire in 2015 that destroyed everything where I am currently standing and really threatened to destroy the Old Forester building, what is now Old Forester, the original Brown Foreman offices. So this whole thing almost never happened. But it's kind of funny. Jackie and I were doing some single barrel selections to honor the firefighters that put out the fire here in 2015. And firefighters, of course, we're honoring them and saying, this wouldn't have happened without you and whatnot. Firefighters being the kind of humble heroes that they typically are. The one guy said, well, don't thank us, thank that wall. The wall is what enabled us to break in from the back and fight it from another direction. So 150 some years later, that firewall still held up. So it's a wall with a story. Pretty cool.
And that's that double brick wall behind you?
Well, it's on the other side, but yeah.
Cool.
Yep. They did use the original brick to rebuild here, though. So you guys, I have you as having these samples, barrels 5047, 5048, 5049. And again, I don't have those samples, but I'm going to pour myself a little barrel strength so I can kind of be experiencing the same emotions you all are.
Okay. Our numbers are 5024, 5031, and 5047. I don't know that it matters as long as we're all tasting the same things at the same time. Like
right. Yeah. What we typically do is just narrow it down to it. Just name one A, one B, and one C, and we'll go from there.
All right. Well, so for those of us who have the samples, we probably should just go low number to high number, A, B, C, right? 5024, 31, 47. Sure. Does that make sense to everybody? Does you guys see those numbers?
Yes.
Because there's some other numbers, percentages, and K2, which I guess means where it's in the Rickhouse, I guess. I don't know. Is that right?
Yeah, Dave, that K2 is the location. K is the warehouse. 2, the first number is the floor. So that would be the second floor. Okay. The next number after that is the aisle. I think you guys are 3 or 4. And then what tier it is in the Rick system.
Okay.
3 tiers per floor.
So if I'm going to put these in I've got glasses here. If I'm going to do that, we'll do 5024 is A, 5031 is B, and 5047 is C. I'll try again. A, B, and C, low number to high number, right? So 5024 is A.
Yeah, that's a good way to keep track of it. And yeah, if you guys want to go ahead, pour yourself samples. In the meantime, I will point out that for you guys at home, side-by-side tasting is always important. You'll see us kind of cleansing our palates, easing into it with something like 86 or 100 proof. But before I jump into high proof, I will always go through, get these poured, and I will nose each glass side-by-side first before bombarding my palate with 130 proof alcohol. You're going to get a much better initial impression of these and be able to kind of pick through them once you do start tasting, if you do an initial aroma assessment. So we'll take a little time, move through these, just give them a quick sniff. You can go pretty quick side by side. It actually gives you a pretty fun little first impression. One may be fruit, one may be nutty, one may smell like maple syrup or red hots. It's what I typically get out of barrel strength.
And since we're doing this like in an online format, this is slightly different strategy than how I normally do a barrel pick, because like we were mentioning earlier, you know, people can be influenced by what other people say. So we'll actually taste through them. And one of my rules when we go to the distillery is, hey, try to keep your beliefs to yourself, write them down, and you know, everyone gets through the tasting, and then we'll talk about it at the end. Well, it'd be kind of boring, I think, for us to be just tasting through them, I guess, and with no banter. So I guess we'll throw that out the door and go one by one. But as far as the sniff test goes, and my first impression, these are really seem to be pretty complex on the nose. I love a good nose. That's usually at least a tiebreaker for me if I'm between two barrels. Well, this one or that one, hey, this one's got the better nose. It's got a longer, finish on the nose, or like Tyler was saying, hey, it's got this, very particular, it could be nutty, it could be like dry smell or whatever, but it's got something particular that just really comes out of the nose. And I'll make a note, just a real simple one, saying like, hey, I like the nose. And if we get back to disputing one or the other, that might be the difference between what we pick and what we don't pick.
Certainly. And, this is also kind of new in that it's barrel strength. So if you guys want to take some time to taste through these, I'll kind of speak to these new expressions that we are releasing here. First, all our single barrels used to be 90 proof across the board. And as of May, we moved to what's more of a pick your proof option. So if you want a single barrel, you can say, I want a single barrel at 100 proof, which yields more bottles, or you want barrel strength. And what that has done, not only has it allowed us to respond to our customers and what they want. That's kind of the trend right now, the higher proofs. But what it also does, the big thing about it is filtration. Anything over 100.2 proof per FD regulations, you only have to sit on activated charcoal for less than 3 hours. Whereas at 90 proof, that exponentially jumps up to something like 12 hours. Barrel proof, basically all you have to do is filter out the charcoal. So what you're getting in a barrel strength, single barrel or barrel strength anything, is more of the pure unadulterated expression of the bourbon and how it came out of the barrel. The only caveat I will add though is with the master distillers, master tasters becoming these kind of quasi celebrities in the bourbon world, most of your bourbon groups, things like that, they think that that's how the master taster is tasting. You know, they're drilling the barrels and drinking it at barrel strength. And that's true to an extent, but that's just the initial assessment. When they're doing their batching blending, they are going all the way down to 40 proof, 40, 50 proof, which is 20% alcohol. And that's going to reveal flaws and things like that and give them a more accurate assessment in their batching. So my word of warning when drinking barrel proof, if you're gonna go out and buy a single barrel Old Forester barrel strength or a barrel strength of anything, do add water. We'll do this initial assessment, and then I think you'll see a lot of the folks go in and add a few drops of water. I have racked my brain to come up with an analogy as to why you should. But if, you know, barrel strength is expensive typically because it's a lot higher alcohol, a lot higher taxes. There's all kinds of things that go into that. But if you go out and buy a bottle of barrel strength and you drank the whole bottle just at 130 proof, you are missing out on so much that you could be getting out of that unfiltered expression if you're not adding water. I equate it to almost like buying a $100 ticket for a concert. Say you go see Tom Petty, you get in the door, the first song he sings is Wildflowers, and then you get up, walk out, get in your car and go home. And you don't hear Free Fallin', you don't hear Mary Jane's Last Dance, all the layers that you could be getting when you are adding water. So I always recommend if you can pick up something like a medicine dropper, those are always good. Taste it at barrel strength, couple sips, whatnot, add a drop or two of water, give it a few minutes, swirl it around, come back, add some more water, and you will find your sweet spot. And that sweet spot might be 2 drops of water for Old Forester barrel strength. It might be 3 drops of water for Four Roses barrel proof. I mean, you'll just kind of have to play around, but that's the fun of this, you know?
So Tyler, last year when we came,
manifests.
we sampled barrels at Old Forester. Obviously, we were taking that straight out of the barrel. We drilled in it in the Rickhouse and then poured it into these glasses. So we tasted it, like you said, first at barrel strength. But I remember us adding water with the droppers and kind of that flavor changing and opening up. And, you know, it was different as you added water. Obviously, last year it was bottled at 90 proof, the Railbird Old Forester Select. So we needed to kind of explore what it was going to change and kind of turn into when it was not at full strength, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, even if you are someone who likes higher proof, this is going to Railbird Festival. Any Joe off the street might be buying this and they might not like it at that higher proof. So while it might smell wonderful at barrel strength, it's important to give it its due diligence and put water in all of these. I would say at least twice and proof them down a little bit and see the integrity, because some of them might absolutely blossom with the addition of just a little water when they were pretty tight and closed down, which barrel strength can be. It can be tight and closed down when you draw it right out of a barrel. It needs oxygen. It needs interaction to kind of bloom. So yeah, you're not giving it its due diligence if you're not adding a little water, and you got to think of everyone who might be drinking it. You know, some people might want to take this down to 100 or 90, and that's fine. Like we said, we're just preaching, drink it how you like it. But what you're still getting is the unadulterated, unfiltered barrel selection. So that's the important part of this.
What did you guys think when you nosed these? Justin, you said complex. Now, I thought the first one was kind of nutty, but I think that was because someone said nutty when I was smelling it, and I'm so susceptible to any suggestions. But Drew and Toni, what did you guys think? Did you have some first impressions?
I'm with you. I struggle on my descriptive words here, but on the one we're calling C, I did get a little bit of kind of a sweeter caramel in there. I don't know if that's a thing or if I'm close, but I feel like I got a little bit of that through smelling it.
No wrong answer.
Yeah, it's funny because yesterday I smelled some of these just in their little bottles, and I thought B smelled really sweet, a lot of vanilla. But now in the Glencairn glasses, I'm getting that more from C, actually.
Yeah, I would have to agree with you too. A and C stood out to me. I thought A had a little bit of maybe like almost like bacon on it, just a little bit in a dry way.
That's the winner.
Yeah, I do believe that
Yeah.
C to me is real kind of sweet, almost like butterscotchy. So, can't wait to dive into these. But yeah, at the moment, A and C are a little bit ahead of B.
I got to go back to smell this bacon. I didn't get bacon. You said A was bacon? I got to smell this.
I'm kind of with you guys. B had less aroma. I mean, I got more flavors through the nose out of the first one and the last one. The middle one was just, I kind of got that alcohol sensation, but not a whole lot of flavor. Now that, I think sometimes changes, as you said, when you add some water to it, and it may change a little bit. But the first and the last one jumped out to me.
Yeah, I think Tyler's right. I mean, we've got the the foolproof expressions. You can't add alcohol to it, but we might as well try to discover as many flavors as we can. So adding a little bit of water here and there, all you're gonna do is just discover more. So that's the fun part of the journey here.
Absolutely. And if you don't have the water dropper, half of a screw cap, something along those lines, you don't want to just pour it out of a glass and accidentally pour 2 ounces to 1 ounce of bourbon. But just the addition of a few drops of water is going to go a long way to kind of opening these up. But it sounds like we have, at least at the moment, which is kind of the idea here, is narrowing it down to 2 and then go back, reassess, maybe add another drop or 2 of water and come back and talk it through.
I think I'm ready to start tasting.
Narrow it down to a final. Absolutely.
Are we completely giving up on B or still giving it a fighting chance?
Oh, I've just been nosing the whole time. I haven't even tried them.
Just making sure. Just making sure.
No, I think you can jump in and taste.
Yeah.
Jump in and taste and then add a little water.
The bacon comment is kind of playing to my bias, Justin. Now, whether there's bacon flavor or smell in there or not, I just am such a big fan of bacon. The first one has jumped to the top of the list.
I did a tasting with Justin in the past, and we came up with all kinds of notes that I don't think really exist.
That is one thing I'll look for if I'm doing, if I'm writing down notes. That kind of tells me about the complexity. If I have 4 or 5 words for A and throughout the course of smelling B, I write down 10 words, then that probably tells me there's a little more going on with B, that it's got more depth, more complexity to it. I'm not saying that's the case here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, this is actually the first foolproof experience. And in the past, the 90 proof is great, but it's kind of like going to that nice steakhouse when they roll the cuts in front of you, and then you see the big tomahawk, bone-in tomahawk, and you're like, you fall in love with that, and then they tell you, nah, you can't have that. You'll get a ribeye, and that's great, but it always kind of just leaving your experience and tasting that bourbon at full proof and not being able to get it in the bottle always irked me a little bit. So this is obviously a great treat. Been looking forward for this for a long time. When you announce this program, this obviously is going to be one of the most sought after bourbons and barrel programs of 2020. So just I think we're in a good situation. Me personally right now, there's a couple here that I'd love to pick. I'd probably want to try to go home with all three of them if I could, but this is the situation you want to be in. I think we're gonna have a tough choice, and that's great because I think we've got more than one winner here.
Yeah, Justin, back in, gosh, it was probably in January, and we were having conversations about Railbird and Old Forester, partnering again for 2020, and the folks at Old Forester were nice enough to tell me, because I said, we loved having Old Forester last year. Your barrel pick was great and was gone very quickly, sold out. But, we'd like to mix it up and do something a little different, a different expression if we could. And they kind of gave me the inside information. They swore me to secrecy, but that they were going to offer 100 proof and the barrel strength, full proof single barrels this year. And, like you said, it's super exciting. These will be some of the first bottles that are available. So it's going to be fun.
Well, greatly appreciate you guys saying so. I can tell you we are super excited about this. One, not just because, like Justin was speaking to, it's more of the pure, unadulterated expression. It's got less filtration, but feedback thus far in these first few weeks of May has been phenomenal. I think everyone's very excited to start getting Old Forester at barrel strength, here and there at least. It's not going to be something that's on the shelf all the time everywhere, but that makes it more of a treat. But I'm just proud to be associated with it, in that the one dirty secret, and I don't talk bad about anybody else's bourbon. We're all very much kind of in this for the greater good. But the one thing barrel strength can do in certain situations is mask off flavors, grain that wasn't up to par, things like that. There's a lot you can't taste in 130 proof. And I will tell you, it's been very impressive seeing the barrels that we were using for 90 proof selections are the same barrels that we will use for 100 proof, or the same barrels that we will use for barrel strength. That is, that's the integrity of the product. It is what it is. So something that I'm super excited to see how it's received going forward.
Yeah. Well, you can, on the consumer side, you can always take it down by adding some water or putting an ice cube, and over the course of, drinking it, taste those different levels of it. It's kind of, use Justin's analogy, it's like if you've got the whole T-bone, you have the fillet and the strip. So you can kind of, take what you want, but you've got it all in front of you at the full proof. And it's good. It's all really good.
Good. I'm glad. Yeah, I think it's a great direction that we're going with the single barrel program. I'm very excited to see we can all get back together one of these days.
For sure. Yeah, I hate not being able to come back to Whiskey Row and go through the distillery again, because it's an amazing spot. So Justin, you've tasted them now, right?
Oh yeah.
First couple passes.
I think all three are slightly unique. This is my 2 cents here. Whoever Tyler has working on his team selecting these barrels have done a fantastic job for us. I think, after nosing them, now trying them, that, we don't have any losers here. I'll start.
Uh-oh.
Log up there.
Hey, Justin. You're froze up for a second. Hey, Justin.
Yes.
Start over. You froze up for a second. You got right to the exciting point. You said after nosing all three and tasting all three, and we don't have any losers here. And then as soon as we got to that part, you froze for a second. So we were all
sorry about that.
left with bated breath.
Take it from the top.
So, I don't think we have any losers here by any means. But my impressions of the three would be with A. I think A is the most unique one, especially at this proof. I mean, it would fool me for just over 100 proof, I think. It's just, It's a little perfumey. It doesn't have the longest finish, but it to me I think it's the most unique one that's away from the flagship product. B, even though the nose I thought was a little muted, I thought this is the fruitiest one. I would say this does have a lot of banana on it. It's almost like a cream brulee / banana combo there. So I think the finish is there. It's kind of quick, but it doesn't linger too much, but it's there. And then C, to me, is what our noses told us. I mean, I do think it is sweet. I think it has a long finish, very syrupy kind of, so I think you have 3 kind of unique bourbons here, and it's just all what you're kind of looking for. So if you're into sweet stuff, great. If you want something that's, if you enjoy the fruity notes, then I think we got one for that. And then if you want something that's just a little more unique or deviates slightly from the flagship that drinks really good at this higher proof, then I think we have one for that as well in A. But love to hear what everyone else says. Please, don't hold back and let's hear what everyone else has to say.
I'm going to go back in for B, but I don't mean to agree with you because it's no fun if we all agree. But I think C, the smell immediately for me was what I said caramel. I believe Toni said vanilla. You said syrupy. And then when I went in for the taste, it's right in line with that, what I expected. Like I said, B, I need to go in more. But C so far is standing out to me, both smell and taste, for all the reasons we've all named.
Toni, what did you think?
I think I'm with A. I tend to like kind of the spicier bourbons a little bit more, and that one kind of falls in line there with me, or for me. And I'd have to agree with Justin on, I thought maybe I'd added too much water to A. I was like, well, this one is just so much more palatable. But I think that it's just a little more refined and easier to drink than the other two. But B did step up its game after trying it. I liked that one. I didn't get floral so much, but I enjoyed the finish. And I'd go ABC.
I thought, and you may have noticed as Justin was giving his descriptions of each one, I was nosing and tasting them again. And again, I'm very susceptible to whatever opinion anybody else has. So I'm like, oh yeah, I agree with everybody. But I was kind of with Drew, and it's probably personal taste. I thought C had a great taste, a really caramelly, nice start, but a really nice kind of, I don't know if this is the right word, warm kind of mouthfeel and a good finish. I liked it a lot. And I like them all. That's the problem. But C kind of jumped out at me as well.
My opinion on that is why you guys are gravitating towards that. I do think the finish on C is a little longer. I do think you get that sweetness on the finish of it. And I mean, I almost, that is probably the most important thing for me when I'm picking a barrel is what do I get on the very end of it. Now, with that being said, Miss Toni there, like the A, I do think the A is pretty unique. And, I'm between A and C as my personal favorite at the moment. Not, like I said, B is very, very good. It is definitely above average. But I do think A and C are different.
Fading out again.
We lost him for a second, but hopefully he'll hop back in.
What that process is going to be. I guess it was based on, who had the ugliest beard. Maybe I win that argument, but anyway, looking forward to what we come up with here.
Yeah.
I don't do this as often as you, Justin. Obviously, you pretty much everyone here. And I'm learning that it's when you have really good bourbons and then someone asks you to pick one of the three, It's like picking a favorite kid here. I want all three of them. Why do I have to pick one? But obviously that's why we're here, so we have to pick one. But I really do enjoy all three that I've sampled here.
And yeah, that's where I'm kind of missing out. That's usually where I will jump in and kind of add my own 2 cents after kind of letting you guys come to your own conclusions. But you guys your descriptions have been great. From what it sounds like to me, A is the soft, smooth, approachable one, but that might be great for a liquor store outside of Kentucky. The one thing that I'm thinking about is this is a Kentucky festival. We're in Kentucky. We got a lot of bourbon savvy people that are going to be going after, especially one of the newest releases of Old Forester single barrel. So there's not as many people here that are going to be afraid of a big, bold, expressive bourbon at barrel strength as you might find somewhere else. B, it just sounds like you guys are having some trouble picking out some descriptors. C, I'm hearing a lot of descriptors. I do think from what you guys have said, it will have mass appeal in that it has more of those sweet confectionery notes, all the vanillas, caramels, toffees. Those appeal to a wide range of consumer. And just the fact that we're going barrel proof, why not go big on the mid palate and why not go big on the finish? I think that's something that might carry through. Now, if you haven't added water or anything, you do want to test that for integrity and see if that finish holds up when you do add a little water. But my 2 cents.
Does anybody want to advocate strongly for B? I mean, I think our consensus, informally, is that that it seems like A is kind of complex and unique. C has a lot that we like about it. And while we all thought B was good, I think the other two are kind of the front runners. Any disagreement? Should we try and winnow it down to A and C, or do we want to let B hang in there for some reason?
I'm with you. You eventually have to cut something. A B's good. I'd love to just keep drinking it all night long, but somebody's got to go. And if I had to pick, we would go to A and C, at least on my end.
Sounds good to me. I second the motion, or third, or whatever.
Toni, was that a get it out of here?
Yeah, get it out of here.
All right. It's done. See you, B.
All right. We'll miss you. Somebody will enjoy that.
Halfway there.
Oh, I'll see what's left of it later. It's not completely gone, but it's at least gone for this conversation.
Right. I'm coming around and picking up the leftover B samples. I'll bring it back to my house. So we're down to 2, the final 2. That's exciting.
Yeah, I mean, like Tyler said, I mean, sometimes when you revisit things, you kind of, you see in different lights. If we were doing this at the distillery, what we'd do is probably walk out of the room for a second. Tyler would do the old switcheroo, and we would taste them blind. You wouldn't have those original bias of, this is my bourbon, this one that I'm really attached to, but try your best. Like I said, let's just go back and hit them again, and
yeah,
hopefully we have a consensus here.
That's right. You gotta keep
exactly. Yeah. Never hurts to, especially at this point in the game, you've tasted a lot of barrel proof, to just kind of sit back, take a little break, give your palate a rest. And now that we've narrowed it down to 2, we can take a few minutes, talk about something, and then come back fresh and nose and taste those 2 side by side. That'll, I think, give us, now it won't be blind, but it will, it'll give you a better, your palate's pretty stressed right now.
Well,
I like hearing how this would be in normal circumstances, that, Justin says we'd all leave and come back. I think my fiance is an important meeting on the other side of this wall, so I can't do that now. I might try to blind taste test it here myself if I can come up with a scheme, but
yeah,
that's something I didn't even think about doing, is resetting and then going back in with an open mind again.
Last year when we were at the distillery, something that was really unusual is we did leave, and there were, I think, 8 of us there, and 6 or 8. We all left and came back and did a blind taste. And I know we got a good barrel because it was unanimous. And I remember asking you, Tyler, I was like, how often does that happen? And you said, never, really almost never. But the Old Forester Railbird pick was so good last year, and I was lucky enough to get one of all the bottles that we chose. The Railbird bottle's gone, unfortunately, and I can't get another one, but I'll have one in a few months.
No, that's great to hear. It is rare, you know. That means either the barrel's really, really good, or you've got a good group that all, you know, it's hard for even two people to have similar palates. Like Jackie, our master taster, and Chris Morris, their palates are almost polar opposites, which may be a good thing. You know, it helps them chase complexity and flavor profiles that they may not otherwise come up with. But yeah, I love it when that happens, and it is rare when everybody's just like, that's the one. So yeah, and you guys do taste a lot together, so you kind of get that going for you, and a good barrel never hurts.
Yeah. So approaching this, I've kind of given it a rest to let my kind of palate settle down. Anything we should try and do differently? You know, we're tasting the same whiskeys. Is there any way we want to approach it a little differently, just other than just give it a little time, let your palate come at it again?
I did what Tyler suggested. I went ahead and added the water to these two, and it's definitely morphed the tasting experience just a little bit. So in a positive way, for sure. I mean, I think it's taken a little bit of that grit off 3 and let that sweetness even shine more. And then on A, I think it's made A little creamier, which I love. I love when a bourbon's right in the middle. You kind of get some stuff right before the finish. So I guess that's what my brain thinks of cream is when you're getting some stuff right in the middle. And man, they're both still really good. I don't know if I can, like Drew said, choose which child I like the best here, but they're both fantastic.
And yeah, David, as Justin said, that's exactly what you should do. If you're kind of at a standstill, you think you've gotten everything out, you're letting your palate refresh, add a little water and just a few drops, but then come back and see how they open up, how they change.
Drew, what about you? You getting that bacon?
No, but I did just add the water to
The bacon's gone.
I'm going for the cream. I'm exactly like you. As soon as Justin says something, I'm like, oh, there it is. And then to me, A and C are awesome, but we didn't come here to pick a tie. I'm still leaning C. I guess it's just my preference. I kind of like that little more of a sweeter, syrupier finish. But if it ends up A, I'm just as happy because A is very good.
Toni, what are your thoughts? Any new insights?
I'm still on A train. At the lack of sounding too profound, I like it.
Yeah, I like them too. I'm leaning towards C, and I think it is that sweetness and that long finish, and it's got a nice warm finish. You know, but I'm open because I don't think we can go wrong here. And I think, as Justin pointed out, A might be a more unique barrel, kind of, you know, a little off the beaten path, and that may warrant us moving in that direction.
Yeah, it might come down. He mentioned unique versus mass appeal. It might just be that you're picking there.
Hey, I'm with you, fellas. Okay.
Toni, I think I interrupted you. You were just about to say something.
Yeah, I was basically going to say the same thing. I think it's uniqueness versus mass appeal, and kind of what do we think people are going to want. I kind of feel like in Kentucky, people want unique, but you can't really go wrong with the sweetness. So I don't think we can go wrong here.
Well, we can't lose. We've got 2 winners in the lineup, and So that's good to know. And then, Justin, what are your thoughts? You got a strong push. You got a good feeling with one or the other?
If it were solely up to me, and this would come down to a very, very razor thin margin, but I would lean towards A. I would just a little bit. Usually I enjoy something that's got, just a slight bit of grittiness and then wins you over with that sweet finish. But there's just something about A that to me is just stands out, and you're like, I like it too when you try something and you're like, what is that? Like, this could be, what proof is that? I mean, this is just so good. It's hard to pick up on where it really stands. And I think Toni brought it up as well, just being, kind of unique and an outliner and everything. It's barely though. After I added the water, I think this adding I don't know, I don't have the dropper, but like maybe 2 or 3 drops of water in there, half a sip or whatever. I think it improved both whiskeys, honestly. And like I said, all those notes we talked about, I think it amplified them. And it just took a little bit of that heat off of C. But like I said, I would just barely take A in the slightest of margins. And honestly, I would call up every favor and everything else I could to try to. I'll tell David, hey, call up Campbell, man. We need both of these barrels. What we need.
I knew you were going to say that.
That's not the first time they've heard that, and we'll pick the other one too.
Especially from you guys.
But
I think as I'm
listening,
listening,
it seems like this is the perfect scenario. It doesn't always work out this way, but when you have 2 samples that you're both fighting for, that's a great day in the office and in the bourbon picking business there.
Yeah, and I fully agree. C, the only thing that scared me off initially was the mention of perfume, because sometimes that can get a little astringent and dry and whatnot. But if the water kind of mitigated that, yeah, it's a single barrel. That's the whole point of this. So if it has a personality unto itself that is totally unique, that you've never tasted in a bourbon before, maybe that is the way to go.
I'll just add to that. Listening to you guys, both Toni and Justin, talking about it, they're adjectives that you're using that as the Railbird producer, are no pun intended, kind of music to my ears. It's like, hey, this is unique. It's an outlier. It's something different. And, we tried to create Railbird to be unique and an outlier and all about Kentucky. And I think, so if it comes down to a neck and neck race down the home stretch, and one of those is just unusual and unique and not like the other, then I think that that's enough to sway me. Kind of fits the Railbird Rickhouse brand to a T.
Toni, do we have a final answer from you?
Still A.
Still A? I've been Team C since my first smell, but I want to show you all something. This is a Deer Park cap from my water, and I added this much water to A, and it really closed the gap. So I can be talked in to however many droplets of water this was going with A, because they're kind of right there with each other right now for me. So if everyone else is happy with A, I like what David said about it's unique. I can definitely go with A.
Well, I think we've got a winner. That's super exciting. This is the first barrel pick for Railbird 2020. Our old partner and great friend at Old Forester. So it'll just be days, months from now, and we'll see some Old Forester Railbird bottles coming off the line. I can't wait.
Tyler, anything else exciting happening at Old Forester we should know about?
Well,
you've already given us a lot. That awesome place behind you. Can't wait to see that.
Thank you. We have opened up just this week. We opened up curbside service. So if you're not on our email list, sign up. I believe it's maybe Kentucky only at this point, but sign up. You will get a weekly email and from what I hear, there's going to be some pretty special offerings that come out. So the emails, I believe, go out Wednesdays, and then it's a Friday pickup. We're starting with 1 day a week at the moment. So we've got our first customers coming to pick up some bottles tomorrow. And so, yeah, sign up on the email list. Make sure you get on there, and might be some more of these single barrels, master taster collections, maybe a few other things. So that's the most exciting thing going on right now. I taped off the distillery the other day, seeing how many people we could fit 6 feet apart for when we do open this thing back up. But that might be a ways off in the distance. So we're just going to keep on keeping on at this point. But thing is, we're still making bourbon. The single barrel program is still going strong, and we're getting a lot of bourbon out there for people to share, whether it's virtually or not.
So we're going with A here. That's the winner. David, what's the next
A
step?
is the winner.
That's the winner. So I think we picked the winner, and now the guys at Old Forester will take it from there. They'll take the barrel that we selected. They'll take it out of the Rickhouse. They'll dump it, bottle it up. We'll have some amazing Old Forester bottles with a shared Railbird label on there, and then those bottles will be available in August through Justin's and through the Railbird Festival. So. Good work, everybody. I mean, thanks, Drew, for hosting this, and we love you and KSR and Toni, Kentucky for Kentucky. We appreciate it. And Justin's, and especially Old Forester, for picking 3 great barrels that kind of we had to work to pick the best one, but I think we got a great one. Justin, anything you want to tell us?
No, like I said, I mean, this is the perfect scenario to be in. So. I mean, Tyler, like I said, thanks again to your team for putting some great barrels in front of us here, man. And
that's all Jackie. Thank Miss Jackie.
All right, so we'll tell her we say hello, please. And heck, maybe David could tease us with a little bit of if the Railbird does go off and running this year, which I mean, it's still to be determined. What we might, some of the acts he's looking forward to.
Well, we've got a great lineup scheduled for 2020, and it starts with the headliners. You've got Jason Isbell and the 400 unit, who just dropped a brand new album called Reunions. It's fantastic. Maren Morris, who just dropped a tiny baby. She just had a child, but prior to that, she had back-to-back #1 singles. First time a female country artist has done that in many years. But from top to bottom, if you check out the lineup, we couldn't be more excited. The response has been great. We, in 1 year of doing Railbird, have created a very loyal and passionate fan base, and we are determined to do everything we can to present Railbird that everyone came to love. It's great music, from the top of the bill down to the bottom, where we've got amazing local acts. Like Grayson Jenkins and Magnolia Boulevard and Nicholas Jamerson, who are joining us. And for those folks to have a platform that they're sharing stage with Grammy winners and international superstars is real important to us. But in addition to the music, I mean, our lineup of fantastic bourbons, we have 9 single barrels this year, amazing food, 6 well-known, well-respected chefs, and all kinds of activities, family-friendly stuff in the Phillies and Colts area. I could go on and on. You all don't want to hear about it, but we're super excited. We're going to do everything we can to present Railbird as planned, and so we're working diligently on that, and we couldn't be happier.
Listen, I'm not just saying this because you're having me on your Zoom call here, but Railbird last year was awesome. I was amazed at how well it went off in year 1, and I love it especially because of what we're doing right now, how it combines music with bourbon and good bourbon, not just something they throw you from the concession stand. You get the best of both. So thank you, David, for everyone jumping on this to participate, and especially the people watching. Hope you all had fun, and maybe we should do this again sometime.
It was great. How do I make this little sample last till August when I can get the Railbird Old Forester bourbon? There's not enough water, it's not going to work, but I'll do what I can.
Very, very tiny sips. But
That's
hey,
like
I
going
just
that's like going to a Tom Petty concert and only hearing one song. I need the whole thing.
exactly. No, I just love that we totally flipped direction and ended up with A, and that's the one that really falls in line with the concept and spirit of Railbird. But I just want to say we're honored to continue the partnership with you guys. This is a small setback. Hopefully this will we'll be able to do this for 20 years to come, and we'll be sick of one another picking barrels with each other by then, but we can look back on the time that we had to do it online.
Thank you, Tyler. Thanks very much. And Drew, thanks for being a great host for us.
Thank you very much. It's a little weird doing a Zoom bourbon tasting, but it was fun. Let's do it again. Thank you to Old Forester, and go A. Lots of people are going to enjoy A once we get it bottled.
Cheers.
Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
The